What's up, my good peoples? Welcome to the Be Transformed podcast, where we're talking about ideas that stimulate wholesome thinking into identity, purpose, vision, and action. I am James Anderson, and with me is Logan Eaton and Kyle Enterman, my good homies. Who's drinking tea?
Me. What's crackling?
I'm drinking tea.
Yeah.
Are you?
No, I just water
tea?
tonight.
Oh, it's quite the fancy.
I had some ice cream earlier, so I just can't afford
Looks like
tea.
Okay.
Just bought ice cream.
Yeah, it's $13.
Oh
too.
my gosh! At the way it, dude. Me and my wife. That's hilarious because me and my wife went to that place not too long ago.
Yeah.
And it was $5 total. And I was like, you know what? The last time Kyle came here, it was like $10.
Yeah.
But this time it was $13.
You had $13 on your ice cream tonight?
Mm.
Wow.
Well, I had some.
How many times?
I had a
couple
discount.
pounds of toppings. You had a discount?
Well, no. I had a discount, so it took it down to like $9 or something.
Took it down from 20 to.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I had a small.
It's all
one.
kind of blurry.
I had a small one. It's all kind of. I don't know.
You had a small one, and then you got a big one.
You press down on the
cream
lever
and a cup
thing,
for
and
the
it just
toppings?
keeps on coming out, and the toppings you squeeze on the syrup, and it won't stop. And
Right.
I mean, the scoopings are so small. It's,
Before you know it, you
10
have an
later.
overflowing cup.
Yeah.
It's just going all over your hands.
Half the container.
No, so I went and I said, yeah, I'm ready to go, and she
I usually
said,
don't
okay,
get this much.
set it on the scale, and I said, okay. I said,
Is your scale big enough?
yeah. She's like $9. I'm like
looked at it.
$9, right? And she's like, oh no. She's like, it's gonna be more than that. I'm like, really? I'm like, dang. She said $13. But she said you have a discount, so we'll take it down to $8.50 or something. So she's like, you're close. But she's like, the a lot of the reason is because you have the I had some butterscotch on it and some little other chunky flavorings.
A lot of density.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it really wasn't that big of a. I mean, you had the big cups like that, and my cup was, probably about 4 inches tall.
But like that wine.
A lot of cream in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of cream
Yeah.
going in there.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
cream
think
machine.
Unpasteurized or pasteurized?
It's pasteurized, I think.
Yeah.
And I was eating on the way over here, which is actually probably more dangerous than
Driving out your
texting and
window.
driving, because you're like, you're just eating and you're driving, and it's.
So good.
Yeah, you're taking the bowl. And
Yeah.
just off the road. Drinking out of the bowl.
Yeah, you're not paying attention to things as much.
Right.
So.
Well, it sounds like a good time.
Yeah, it wasn't really worth it overall. It was kind of like
You didn't feel like you got $9 or $13 worth?
Well, yeah, I think I did. It was just like, why did I do that? Was that necessary? Because now I got to go
but it
home
was good.
and sleep and wake up with
So there's a little
creamy,
bit
creamy, creamy.
Coming out.
Yeah, 6 gallons of cream coming out of me. I mean, so.
Sometimes you treat yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good to
okay.
treat yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I could have been more,
But,
because I could have been more, laid back about it though. I didn't need to go that hard.
You didn't need 6 scoops of the
I
liquid
didn't.
cherries.
It's just not worth it. It's like when I used to eat those cheesecakes when I'd be here and then I'd come back and I had like a whole cheesecake.
Yeah, and you never brought any to show us.
The one
I
you were
ate it all.
supposed to bring?
Yeah.
Great.
So you
Thanks for
learn
that.
and you eat and you realize
eat
that it
some
wasn't
more.
worth it. But yeah, that was the story of my evening.
That's
Wow.
the story of your evening.
Should have stuck with tea. I could have
Next,
gone
it
and
looks like
get.
you bought your water from Europe.
Yeah, it's a nice
Or
bottle,
like
huh?
Persia or something.
You can actually set it like this, like
Oh,
it's
wow.
like think of that, like if you were, it's like a water, water.
Like if you were on a
it's
subway?
like a ride or something,
You can use it as a seat cushion.
Yeah. I don't know. This must be for better packaging or something. It's weird. It's just crazy,
it's just
But apparently
crazy.
this was filled with
pure.
eternal, naturally
Pasteurized.
alkaline spring water.
Oh wow.
Got
Pure and
alkaline in it.
pure and pristine. Poured
Do you
it from
recycle
Earth.
that or keep it?
I keep
Should
it.
you recycle it?
You should probably like put it in a time capsule or something
Yeah.
with some of that leftover Yolandas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Jeez.
like, no, there's no leftovers.
I show you the foam cup.
Oh, that's all that's left.
It's in my car.
Still
It's
sitting
all
in your car.
like the inside of the
It's got-
cup's all
yeah,
scraped.
yeah.
With deep gouges.
It's got
It's ice cream all over.
Yeah, I think the first flavor I put in was cake batter.
Whoa.
So it's got a little yellow cake
Oh,
batter.
you
at
had
the-
more than one flavor?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, yeah, you did. Yeah, you said that.
That's
Cake
only the way
batter
to
and-
go, bro.
Yeah.
Cake batter, vanilla, and
They don't give you options for nothing.
yeah. It was like they were emptying out the one of the flavors.
You had to help them empty it out.
Yeah, and then they had like they had like a big Cambro or whatever, and it was just all going into it. Like a gallon.
Cambro?
Yeah, whatever those you put on a lid on top of it. It's like a storage container. It's like a clear
Oh.
plastic storage container.
Tupperware?
Quart, yeah, a quart
That's not what's coming out of my mouth. That's what I meant.
quart container or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So they do that at the end of the night.
Mm.
Boy, oh boy.
Did you take some home?
You would think they would
ask 'em?
offer it to you,
Yeah.
wouldn't they?
I would have hoped.
Like, hey, you bought a 13-gallon. Why don't you
Hey, if you're throwing that out,
make it
it could be
s-
thrown away in my trunk.
in my belly? Yeah. I'm gonna store it in my trunk. It's got a refrigerator in it.
For occasions just like these.
For
You got a
occasional.
mini fridge in the back seat, wired into the battery. Just for ice cream.
Like the ice cream man.
Keeps draining the battery at nighttime, but
Yeah.
it's worth it.
Like, hey, a little side gig, sell some extra ice cream on the streets.
Eat a little ice cream on the
Mhm.
streets.
Ice
Yeah.
cream deliveries.
Grilled cheese and ice cream.
Little cheesers.
Little cheese.
Grilled cheese and ice cream. Pretty good.
Ice
yeah.
cheesers.
You know, like a Frosty, like from Wendy's, but have a little cheesers Frosty.
Little cheese
Yeah,
on top.
Yeah.
Little cheese whiz.
Bacon bits.
Some
cheese whiz.
shreds. Little shreds.
Yeah.
You
Shreddies.
have like that. Yeah, it could be a flavor like a peanut butter or something. Little cheese,
Or like a
little
peanut butter
cheesers,
cheese.
yeah, little peanut butter cheese. I mean, the peanut butter crackers with the
Crunchy?
cheese between them.
Whoa.
Pretty good. Remember those?
Whoa.
Uh-huh.
Whoa. Peanut butter crackers with cheese.
Yeah. You guys remember Yoo-Hoos?
You're a yoo-hoo.
No.
Which was a yoo-hoo? It sounds the drink,
Yeah, yeah.
the chocolate milk drink.
Mm.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, some of it.
Yes. Those were
Saw
good.
some. Yeah.
Did you have some of that with your ice cream?
No, I saw some though at work today. and
Whoa.
it just kind of brought back some memories.
Pounding some cases at a time.
No,
Memories
just
of-
some after-school specials.
Okay.
Memories of you with
Pour
Pizza-
that over your cereal.
little pizza rolls and some Yoo-Hoos.
Yes. Pizza pockets.
Mhm.
Some chimichangas.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
some taquitos.
Yeah. Yeah.
All frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs. Yeah, corn dogs are good. Yeah, we drink a lot of pop too, though. Yeah, it was bad, but just slammed it back.
So good.
Pop.
Soda.
Soda? Did you used to drink it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Now
We used to
it's-
we'd go to 7-Eleven, you'd get those big red, like 52-ounce insulated mugs,
Mhm.
and then you'd fill them up with like the icy drink that they had, the slushies.
Slush. Oh, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Big
then
gulps.
you'd have to big gulps, huh? Well, see ya. But you'd have to like drive around from store to store to find like one that had the right consistency, because sometimes it'd just be like straight up liquid instead of like a frozen-ish
Oh yeah.
slush.
The slot, like
It was
the,
more
the
just
slushy
water. Yeah.
machines. that
Yeah.
Mix them and turn them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely pasteurized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn your insides blue.
You had a slushy before, Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those
Oh,
are
yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Hot day.
How was the Toledo festival? Downtown.
Oh, that old West End thing?
Yeah.
It was all right. Yeah.
Nice.
Were you down there at the West
I
End?
played
Oh, you were
played
playing
guitar
there?
for about an hour down there. Yeah, I bought this little portable amp that you can actually charge, which is pretty cool. A Fishman. Sounds pretty good.
Oh.
So, Yeah, this guy had a record store down there, so just kind of parked in front of his porch and just played for a little bit. It's cool. I just challenged myself, you know. Made a few bucks. But it was busy down there. And it rained really hard. Hailed. A lot of peeps down there, that old West End festival, though.
Sweet.
Yeah, man.
Sweet.
Love it.
Yeah.
Real cool.
Nice.
Radical.
Tubular?
Bodacious.
Bodacious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some animals down
Had
there.
a tubular time?
A lot of animals getting walked in the street.
Like a petting zoo?
Like a pasteurized animals?
Yeah, it's kind of known like the old West End
Like
petting
a
zoo.
kill your own food type of?
No, just people walking goats and stuff.
Oh.
Chickens. Just joking.
And doing yoga.
You
Sounds like the homestead.
ever had a chicken on a leash before?
Huh?
You ever had a
I've
chicken
never
on a
not.
leash? Like a walkable
chicken.
chicken?
Chicken on a rope.
It's easier when you don't have to catch them.
Leashes aren't
What, on a
leashes
rope?
aren't too they aren't from where I'm from.
So you put it around like one of those noose ropes where you can tighten the noose.
Yeah, or like a chain.
It's just easier to cook them,
Just a
kill them and
chain.
cook them.
Chicken. If you
While
gotta
they're
take your
live?
chicken for a walk.
Well, they're live, right?
Well, if the chicken needs to go for a walk, yeah. There's no leashes out in the country.
Yeah.
You gotta use what you have.
Cock-a-doodle-doo.
You think yeah.
Yeah.
You think do you think we just have straw
about
hats
it.
out of nowhere out there? You ever wear a straw hat and play a banjo
While walking a chicken.
and walk a
That'd be a
chicken
good
down the
album
street?
cover, wouldn't it? Straw hat, banjo, maybe a cigar, and a
Shirtless
chicken on your lap.
overalls.
Chicken like a top of a guitar.
Yeah. Well, country
Yeah.
ramblings.
Yeah.
Country, what's that? Chatlins? Country chatlins?
Hip hop Chaplin.
Yeah.
Chaplin.
The best of hip hop cracklins.
I'd buy that album.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sometimes you gotta walk the chicken and then the cow follows.
That's ancient wisdom.
That would
right
be
there.
that would be a funny album cover.
Ancient
You, straw
Oh,
hat.
it's real life out in the
That could be a
rurals.
song, actually.
Yeah.
Huh?
I walked the chicken and the cow followed me home.
Done. That's song one.
Yeah.
All right. You just need
The chicken clucked loud and the cow moved home.
Did you ever hear
just need
that
15 more.
the chicken ate my shoes?
By Dirk
Again?
Bentley. Yeah.
second time?
Chicken clucked my shoes.
Yeah.
Cluck-a-doodle-doo.
I woke up and a chicken was on me. Ever hear that one?
Just packing.
Yeah, pecking around.
That'd be a cool little prank, you know? Put a chicken on someone, throw some feed at him.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever wake up and a chicken poking out your eyeball?
They love peanut butter, I hear.
That's kind of the problems we deal with out the homestead rurals.
You ever had your eye plucked by a chicken?
Yeah.
Multiple times, huh?
Multiple times.
You ever have a goose fly through the window?
And the feathers just whoosh, all over
Yeah.
the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It exploded when it came in. You shot it when it
Yeah.
came inside and it exploded. That's amazing. Well,
Tubular.
on that note, definitely be looking for
Forget
that
about it.
CD coming out to iTunes near you for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, well, tonight I thought we'd,
Speaking of,
speaking of something totally different,
Okay.
I thought we'd talk a little bit about the times.
The times they are a changing. Yeah, like
Wow.
those, huh?
Yeah, those times.
that was good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
seasons.
Do every Yeah, there's a season under heaven. That's what Ecclesiastes says.
Boom.
And the birds.
And
Yeah.
the birds. Yeah.
There's a season for everything, even for
Even
Birds.
for birds?
pecking out your eyes.
Oh, it's probably not a season for that.
It's just a month.
What are you doing? Waiting for the bird to peck out your ass?
Yeah.
That's the proper stance.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but so the times. It's interesting. I've heard a few things about, the times and knowing what the times are. And yeah, just kind of reading this book and gain a little bit of revelation. But the concept is like knowing the times or knowing what God is doing allows you to then participate in what he's doing. But if you have no idea what God's doing, or you have no idea what the times are, or what you're supposed to be doing, then you end up being on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just thinking about how, kind of the times are shifting. I was reading this book called Heavy Rain by Chris Valentin, and he's talking about how the times are kind of shifting from, and this book is a few years old, but the shift from like where we would kind of just go to church and people, he used the words like people would get like happy and healthy, and that was kind of like the concept of church, where you kind of come, you get discipled, you learn, you go about your business, but then you come back, and this is where you kind of encounter God and whatever, and then you go about your business and you come back. But it's like it's kind of moving into a position where like church is more this thing we call church anyway, because we are the church, but this Sunday thing and this group we call church is more like the times are changing, where it's turning into more of like a training grounds to actually have community and nation like transformation. Because there was this statistic done, a survey done or whatever, and the survey was saying that they were looking at some of the cities where you have like some of the biggest churches, and where you have some of the biggest churches, you have like some of the worst cities, in the sense that just because you have a bunch of people who come and gather, that does not automatically equal community transformation.
Yeah.
And so there's this more focus into training and equipping to then be deployed right into society, which is everything we've been talking about. But kind of reading this book, it's just interesting to see like these are the times, and this is where we're all going. And I was reading this book called Today Matters by John Maxwell, and it was interesting. He reading another book, found this story about this company that started up in the late 1800s. And there was just kind of through their story, you kind of see where they changed with the times, and then where they didn't change with the times, and kind of what happened. So this is a snapshot of somebody else's snapshot of somebody else's snapshot. So, but anyways, I believe the company was called A&P, which was like East Atlantic and the Pacific. Oh, Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company. So this one guy, he had a business partner, and they were doing like fur trading. This is like in the late 1800s. And then they got into the tea business. Like they cut out the middleman, and they started doing like a wholesale tea. Like they'd fill up an entire ship like full of tea and whatever. And so they were able to like charge a third of the price that other people were charging. So anyway, so they just got it into these businesses, and then this the one guy broke off, Hartford and Gilman, I think. Nope, Hartford. What? Yeah. So Hartford, whatever. And anyways, so they sold the business. The guy got into tea. They started making coffee. Then his sons kind of joined in with him, and his sons were, into kind of considering the business and where we're going to go, what are we going to do. So one son was like, oh, hey man, we can cut our costs if we start making our own products. The other son was like, all right, he was into like customers and customer satisfaction, and like, what do the customers want? What do they need? How can we kind of help grow this? So they turned their coffee and tea business into this kind of grocery store thing. But at the time, the grocers would deliver the groceries, and then people would, use accounts, like they would be billed or whatever, so they wouldn't pay for it when you dropped it off. But then in like the early 1900s, they went to like this cash and carry. So they kind of went to just straight up doing tea, then to doing coffee, then to doing like delivering groceries, to then having a grocery store where it was cash and carry. So you came with cash and you carried out your goods. And so as they started that, if I was reading it correctly, so they had their traditional store where they delivered stuff. Well, then they started another store, a cash and carry, and within 6 months or something, their cash and carry business put their other business out of business. So it's like shifting from one model to the next model. So then as time went on, people no longer just wanted like the small economy grocery stores. They wanted, what do they call it? The supermarket, right? Where you had bigger brands, you had more choices, you had all this other stuff. So, all right. So it was a bit of a transition to shift from this one model of just like a small store to then these superstores. So for every one superstore they put up, they took down 6 economy stores, right?
Wow.
But as they did this, their profits continued to go up. So this is going on for a while, and now we're in like the, mid 1900s, and things are shifting again, right? So now people want supermarkets. So supermarkets is where you have most of everything you want in one place, right? So we're talking about kind of like Walmart. You're talking about your clothes, your bakery, your pharmacy, your groceries, the bank, all in one spot, right? So you don't have to go to all these multiple places. So now typically their model was, all right, let's see where people are going and then let's do it, right? And they would progress and become even more profitable. Well, at this stage in the game, that family no longer owned the business, right? Because they passed it on to this other guy. Well, this other guy, he was stuck in the old ways of things. So his motto was, if it's, you can't argue what has worked for 100 years, right? So everybody was switching over to these superstores, but he was still in the supermarket. And so the business started to go down. And so, because the concept is like, well, I want to honor he wanted to honor the family who came before him, and he wanted to do it the way they were doing it. But what he didn't understand is that their way was that when things changed, they changed with it, which is why they became relevant and successful. So throughout the process, right, they're losing money and it's just not going that great. So they make this one standalone store, and then they kind of do like test market a bunch of, like, they test different ideas and this and that. And the store was actually doing well, but all the data showed that they needed to move to superstores. But this guy refused to do superstores. So he shut the store down because he was stuck in the old model. And it's, the whole point is that when things change, if you don't change with them, right? I mean, you're no longer relevant. And there's this quote by Eric Hoffer, and it says, "In times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with the world that no longer exists." Right? So in times of change, it's the people who will adapt, who change with them, that then, are able to participate in what's going on. Like this one guy who wanted to stay in the supermarket instead of the superstore, right? Like it just wasn't as relevant as the supermarket pattern. Yeah, what do you guys think about all of that? Ready to get in the grocery business?
Yeah,
Grocery business, yeah.
totally.
So adapting, going with the change,
Yeah.
not being. You're saying that guy didn't make it because he didn't evolve with these supermarkets. He stayed with a superstore type mentality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supermarket, yeah. Which, I mean, they still have a few stores, but...
So kind of being stuck in his thought process that this was the way to go, and that they don't know what they're doing, and that kind of not moving past his own rigidity, I guess. Kind of cost him his prosperity.
Yeah, because I think it was too. Because again, it wasn't. So the store was owned by a family. It was a father and then 2 sons who ran it. But then when the last son, whatever, he passed it off to this other guy. This other guy was so stuck in honoring the old ways that he kind of missed like the meaning behind their success, right? Because he was like, all right, this is the last thing they were doing. We need to just keep doing what they were doing, right? But when you come up with new problems, you can't use the same old solutions, right? You have to come up with specific solutions to the specific problems, which was, in reality, that was the way of the family, was that, all right, let's figure out how to, adapt.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, so it definitely makes sense from a business standpoint, but like, what do you think about like a personal standpoint, like getting comfortable in certain ways that things have been done? Like I was driving here tonight, and I drove by this house, and I saw this pickup truck in the front. It had some company name on it, and then I saw in the garage just a little light on, and I saw this old like antique tractor in the garage. I was just picturing like this old guy living in that house. So he had this job that he did probably just because that's all he knew, was just how to do this job at this company truck that he had. And but he never took a chance or never did anything to maybe do what he really loved, but maybe something with the tractor or the farm equipment or whatever, that it was his true joy that he could have spent all his time on. So I just picture this old guy that just got comfortable in just this way that maybe started when he was, in his 20s or something, that started, he just got comfortable in this routine and just never decided to change. So I was just thinking like comfort is just can be such a way to screw up adaptation or evolution in business or changing how you think or changing who you are, or whether it's business or personal. I just think comfort is just so, and that was just something that I just thought about. It was just in my head. It's not a true story, but I just think I don't want to be that person that's, like 65 years old thinking, man, I did this thing for 40 years that I didn't even want, but it was just because I was comfortable there. And comfort can make the time pass by really quick. It can make you miss things and make you miss opportunities for adaptation or whatever. But I think personally, like business always requires change, but personal development always requires change. Like you have to adapt to. You have to adapt to, okay, you're getting older. You have to adapt to, okay, I wasn't in a relationship, now I'm in a relationship. Just stuff like that. If you don't adapt, you can get comfortable, and that can screw up everything around you. So that's just kind of what I was thinking about, was don't get comfortable. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because tradition can be comfortable.
Right.
Tradition is what you think that's like, okay, it's what I know. I'm just going to stay in what I know.
Yeah, yeah.
And you get comfortable in that.
Right.
So whether it's tradition in business or tradition in this is the way I've always done things internally or the way I've always operated internally, and then you just get this subconscious comfort in that, and then you just end up missing so much, whether it's in work or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You see it with like businesses, new age companies, new businesses.
Yeah.
Can replace those old schoolish. I mean, if you're talking about from a farmer's perspective, a farmer who's been doing the same thing for a long time, and they're kind of set in their ways. I can see that would happen, because then you have, so maybe they're on 100 acres, and then you have these giant farms with thousands of acres, and it's like, or you're using a new product or something, and they're using the tractor from 1978.
Right.
And, they're like, you could be able to harvest a lot more with. So, I mean, I don't know. Definitely going and adapting and making those changes is going to require stepping out of some kind of comfort zone, because that would require new training, new learning. I'm sure, like, Yeah, and if you don't want to, like if it's just like, well, I'm okay with where I'm at, then okay, you are what that is what it is. But I guess if we're looking to adapt for kingdom purposes and growing in that regard, then stepping into that would be and learning that new information.
It takes accountability and responsibility. It takes some stepping up.
Takes some stepping. And you get to that point, and then there'll be another.
Yeah,
it's constantly kind of evolving, especially like if you look at computers and stuff.
Yeah, comfort killed the cat. Is it saying? Not curiosity.
I thought it was they made the comforter out of the cat.
Yeah.
No.
They stuffed the cat in the comforter. No, what?
No, it's not curiosity killed the cat.
No, it's comfort.
Complacency killed the cat.
Oh, those freaking cats.
Yeah. It got happy stuck in the tree.
I miss him.
Good old Heathcliff.
Yeah.
Jerry.
Heathcliff. Oh, Jerry. Man, he got his head smashed. He ripped off his nose, I think.
That was the mouse, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely had some issues when we threw him outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm going with the times. And so again, like this season, this time, I don't know, this time, the where we're going, right, is where, which is everything we've been talking about, but it's just interesting to see that it's like, if we know where we're supposed to be moving, then it's easier to participate. But if we're unsure, if we're trying to stuck in these other ways, it becomes a little more challenging to move. Because really, I mean, change isn't. It's definitely not comfortable, Because I mean, I keep thinking about the different ideas I have and the stuff to take action on, and there's definitely changes in my life. Like there's disciplines that I have been developing through commitment. And so through that commitment, there's been times where it's like, you want to do it or you don't want to do it, or you got no ideas, or you got ideas. You go through it all, but because you have commitment, which is exactly what we were talking about last week in like persistent consistency. But it's like, even when it gets hard, you keep going. All right, but then there's other things, right, that are still uncomfortable to start, right? Because it's like what you're used to doing is normal. So then what you're not used to doing is abnormal, right? Like it does seem weird. Maybe you got some incorrect thinking that's like, maybe it's not the right time, or maybe you shouldn't be doing it. But it's like your potential is like, why don't you shut up and do it? And you're like, yeah, but that seems, why don't you shut up and do it? Right? Yeah, and it's like, like you're talking about embracing that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That becomes vitally necessary.
Yeah, that self-manifestation and self-affirmation can start to so you can believe in something that you have like a vision about. You can believe it and think that you believe it, but when you start telling yourself that you're gonna be there, it's like it draws out all the last bits of doubt that you have, because you start to hear it and you're like, holy smokes, and you start thinking like, I don't know if that. When you hear it and you tell yourself, no, I will be this, or I'm going to be this, then it's like, I don't know, but then it's like you keep telling yourself, so you're drawing out that last bit of doubt or discomfort and affirming it. It's crazy, but so I think there's like a difference between like believing it and then really believing it.
Right. Well, thinking it and then turning that thought into a belief. Yeah, absolutely. And that is a process.
Yeah.
And you can recognize the process. That doesn't necessarily make it easier. It just, you kind of know what you have to do.
Yeah.
Or at least it helps you come to the terms of what you have to do. It's time to show up. But I was thinking about, I started reading the book of Daniel, and I was thinking about how, so Israel gets taken captive by Babylon. And so Daniel and a few people, so the king wants to bring a few of the Jews into the government and, have them serve under him. And so they bring a bunch of people in and they test people out and see, who's going to be a good fit, whatever. And so Daniel it's funny, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which are all their Babylonian names. I don't remember their Hebrew names, but Daniel was Belshazzar, but we know him as Daniel. But anyways, right, so these guys stand out, right, 10 times wiser than anybody else. And so they got to spend 3 years learning the language and the literature, like so that they can then be interviewed by the king and then enter into the thing. But 3 years of learning, not only learning like their laws and like their culture and whatever, but they had to learn the language as well. But here are these guys who just whipping it out. And it's interesting. So just in the sense, like, so as we're talking about, like, the times is that our purpose is to go into the community, right, into society and affect change, right? Where maybe before it's like, okay, your job doesn't really matter, making money doesn't really matter, let's just go to church, we do this church thing, and it's like, okay, we do these other things, but they're not like a huge focus, to where now it's like, okay, these other things that we do are like the main focus. It's like, let's figure out how we can become like excellent at these things, how we can like dominate in these things, and then let's go do them. Right.
Yeah.
So that the times that we're in right now is to go into, these foreign kingdoms, right. And freaking
Succeed. Yeah.
succeed. Yeah.
'Cause that
Solve some
draws
problems.
people in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while these guys are there, they come into a big problem, right? The king has this dream. This dream freaks him out. And, so he calls up all his wise men, right, which are magicians, enchanters, and astrologers. Calls all these guys in. He said, hey, I had this dream. It's freaking me out. You guys need to interpret it. But before you interpret it, you need to tell me what the dream is. And these guys freak out. They're like, what? It's like, okay. They're like, okay, first tell us what the dream is and we'll interpret it. And he says, no. He says, you're just trying to buy time. He's like, you tell me what the dream was, and then you tell me what it meant. Otherwise, right, we're going to have some problems. And they're like, this is unreasonable. This is impossible. There is nobody who can do this. They're like, only the gods can do this. And so the king flies off the handle, and he's like, you're all to be executed. That's the next logical step, is that all the wise men in the kingdom are to be executed. All right, well, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are also under this title, right? But they weren't there. So the guy
Under what title?
under the wise men.
Oh, okay,
so they were a guy came to him, the captain of the guard, and says, hey, we're going to come and kill you guys. And he's like, but Daniel, and it said in his wisdom, was like, oh, hey, why is this command so urgent to kill us all? Right? That's wisdom. He didn't pee his pants. He's just like, hey, man, what's the deal? And he's like, oh, let me slap it down for you, right? Here's what's going on. Daniel's like, bam, take me before the king. And so Daniel goes before the king. He says, hey, give me a little bit of time, and I'll come back and we'll do this thing, right? All the other wise men were like freaking out. This is impossible. There's no way, right? Like, you could give a false interpretation, but you cannot give a false description of the dream.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So they're in a bad shape. But that's not Daniel's approach. God gave King Nebuchadnezzar this dream. God spoke to him in such a way that he couldn't understand it. And the only way he could understand it was by somebody who actually knew him, right? Was by Daniel. So Daniel, but the whole process is also kind of fascinating, because so Daniel and the guys, were almost going to get killed, but they were like, oh, hey, wait, let's find out what the problem is. And then they're like, okay, let's all pray, and hopefully God will have mercy on us and tell us what's going down, right? Like, they're not privy to all the ins and outs, right? Like where Moses, God was like, hey, you're going to go talk to Pharaoh, but he's going to tell you say, go let the people go, and he's going to tell you no, right? Moses was set up, right? Be like, this is what's going to happen, right? But even then, still Moses freaked out. These guys didn't have any of that. They didn't really know what's going on. And they're like, oh crap, okay, well, let's interpret this dream, right? Let's ask God. And so God gives Daniel a vision. It's a vision of the dream. It's also the interpretation of the dream, right? Bam. So God speaks to Nebuchadnezzar, But Nebuchadnezzar cannot understand it. Nor Nebuchadnezzar's so bent out of shape that he says, you have to tell me what the dream is. Nobody can do it. Here comes Daniel with the answer. Here's a person of the kingdom who comes and demonstrates the kingdom because God himself spoke to the king. Here's this opportunity, right, to bring in the solution. So he interprets the dream. Bam. The king, right, who serves these other gods, who's ready to just mass murder like all these people, gets down, lays down on the ground and says, whoa. He's like, your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings. This is that guy's response to the encounter he had with Daniel. And it's like, this is the picture of like what it looks like for us to actually function inside the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Instead of a lot of freaking out of like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Or just freaking out about unanswered questions and all that stuff and not knowing what to do, where to go, all that stuff. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so then next, Nebuchadnezzar's like, all right, well, you're clearly legit, so we're going to put you in charge. He's like, he gave him a big promotion, and then he's like, all right, now you're in charge of all of the wise men. But here's what's hilarious. All of the wise men are astrologers, magicians, and enchanters, right? Like magical demon worship, like kind of concepts. He manages this group of people. It's hilarious, right? Because I'm pretty sure, like in the Old Testament, like you would stone somebody who was Jewish if they were trying to, get into that kind of mayhem. But so here he is, and he's in charge of these people. And so you think about like the transition, right? Of like, okay, well, we go to church and maybe it kind of seems like you're supposed to stay away from bad things and stay away from the world. But here's this thing where Daniel's with these people that you would normally like run from, but he's actually in charge of them.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, so this would take a little bit of a change the way you think kind of moment, right? Because this is like, he's got a job to do and it's with these people. So now, but Daniel has a chance then to influence these people, which really everything Daniel and his companions do, they do so well that eventually the king wanted to put Daniel over the entire kingdom, right? And that's how he ended up in the lion's den, which was these guys got together, like all these magicians, these satraps, whatever, different rulers. They were like, all right, let's find something on David and get him like thrown out of here. So they seeked and they found nothing because it said he was faithful and did everything with excellence. His life, you couldn't touch it. So the only idea they came up with is like, all right, we have to mess with like his belief towards his God, because that's the only thing. You can't find anything wrong with him. So if we find a way where you have to worship some other God or be killed, that'll do it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so that's how they got him chucked in there. But obviously, again, he didn't get eaten.
Yeah.
Right. He also didn't die.
The king came back and said, Daniel, you still in there?
Right. Yeah. Well, the king felt horrible. He was like, because when the king made a decree and then he signed it on the paper, like it was undoable. You could not undo it.
Oh,
like that's just how kingdoms work. Right. And so the king tried all he could all day to undo, because it was whatever it was. It was we had to worship something or some god or some whatever. And they're like, I think it was like worship this one god for a whole month and nobody else. And they found him praying or whatever. Something like that. Read the story. Get all the details. Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah. So, and even if you back up, right, you get Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So you get these guys who were inside this kingdom, by the way, which God uses. Like God in another dream, it's like God gave Nebuchadnezzar essentially control over the earth for the most part. Like he was God's instrument for conquering different peoples. All the while Nebuchadnezzar like worshipped other gods and didn't know God and this and that. But God was using it's fascinating. But so even while these guys are out in this foreign government, you're still participating in the laws and the culture and this and that, but we're not talking about like participating in people's sins, right? Or like their standards, right? So from this dream that King Nebuchadnezzar first had, he saw the statue. It was a head of gold. I think it was a chest of bronze, and then it was a representation of these different kingdoms that were to come. But Nebuchadnezzar was the head. He was the gold head. So after this, he makes himself a giant gold statue, and then it says, hey, okay, everybody's got to worship the statue. And when the time came, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they didn't do it. And so they were like, the people came and tattletaled on them. They were like, oh, they didn't worship your statue. Yeah, I wonder why. So anyways, these guys end up getting chucked in the fire because they weren't going to pretend they didn't know God, or they weren't going to pretend to worship this fake image over God, right? So the same thing went down with Daniel. Like there's things we don't compromise on. I'm not saying we compromise at all. I'm just saying like these guys went into the world, interacted with people that maybe you would kind of typically not, and they had massive influence. The kingdom, the Nebuchadnezzar, the king, was so impacted by what these guys were doing because of their excellence, because of their faithfulness, because they gave themselves wholly to these tasks. And because of that, this king kept having these dreams, and they were getting interpreted. He's having these encounters with God, and all these things were happening because these guys were there. And this is kind of like the picture of what we're called to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You almost have to realize your true freedom too, to kind of be like that. Your true freedom to just go out there and, hold fast to the things that aren't negotiable, but also be free to engage with people, be free to be successful, be free to, it's okay to have influence and have positive influence on people and affect people and stuff like that. And yeah, I think you have to understand your true freedom to do that. Sometimes that's hard because you think you're so held accountable for every little thing, but it's like, I don't know, if you're always concerned about, doing something wrong or being in the wrong place or saying the wrong thing or something, you don't have that freedom to kind of go out and just, it's okay if you make a mistake, but here's some work that's got to get done.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just understanding your freedom, I think, is important.
Yeah, definitely.
And being able to do that. Yeah, because if they didn't understand their freedom, it could have been easy to just be like, well, this is the law. We should just do it because we're under the law. We're not free in Christ or God. So we need to just, follow what's wrong, even just so that bad things don't happen to us or something like that. Just understanding your freedom is just, I don't know. It's like, you don't have to bow down to whatever this is. If it's wrong, you don't have to follow along with it. So I don't know. Just sometimes we get so caught up in like trying to do everything right or not wanting to be held responsible for everything or something like that you don't understand your freedom, and then you don't go do anything.
Right.
So I don't know. Freedom is important.
Freedom is important.
Yeah.
Freedom saved the cat.
Freedom saved the cat.
That's how he got out of the comforter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom saved the cat. Yeah, I like that. Not that part, but the freedom part. Yeah. Free to go and do. Well, it's kind of like you were talking about, Kyle, about your yoga class you got cooking. Right. And just like, there might have been a time where you'd be like, I don't know, should I not? Should I? You contemplate that.
Sure.
I probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
to now where it's like, well, yeah, you should.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that, a lot of like fears or, yeah, I have the time and it's worked out, like that. So I just kind of try to do it, evolve with it and try something new, try something different.
Yeah.
Try to, and who knows who you'll run into there. What kind of things can happen?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's that using your gifts, using your talents, your interests, your abilities as vehicles to gain access to these groups of people, right? Which is, Daniel and his companions, right? I mean, these guys had wisdom, and so they used it.
Yeah.
And because of that, they had massive influence on an entire kingdom.
True. They were young too, weren't they? I mean, the wisdom's a gift, huh? Yeah.
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 Yeah, they had wisdom and understanding.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and if you think it's like so wrong to believe that you have wisdom or believe that you have understanding, if you think
Right.
that's wrong, you'll never go
Or
out
second guess it.
and be able to affect people
Yeah.
that need the wisdom and need the understanding, because you think it's like prideful to have wisdom or prideful to know things or be successful. I don't know. So you have to understand that maybe too, that it's like it's okay to be wise and believe like if you asked for wisdom that you got it.
Yeah.
Or that if God is wise, you're wise. Then if you're following Christ and you have the wisdom built in already, you can go out and affect people, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that. And just
'Cause
those three
yeah,
guys.
because it's easy to in the church to just be like, well, I'm not, God is wise, but I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
Or
Or not think you have the
taking
ability.
meekness and humility in the wrong way. God has all the knowledge, but I have no knowledge.
Or I
don't
can't
know.
affect these people,
Yeah.
or I can't relay a message or anything. Just, little things like that. Second guessing yourself when you do have the power.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Asking for permission when you've already been commissioned.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think about.
Eating a bowl of $13 Lola's yogurt. Influencing those around you.
You have the freedom to do that.
Yeah, the freedom.
And the power.
Yeah, and suffer the consequences.
Yeah. Everything's permissible, but not everything beneficial.
Right. Yes.
But but there's the freedom though. Everything's permissible. You have the freedom to choose. Like you're talking about, you have the freedom to fail. Like whatever. I mean, failure isn't failure. It's, errors. And I was listening to somebody and he was talking about how it's like, those trials or those quote unquote failures or whatever, they're feedback. They let you know, like, all right, because you did it, now okay, well, if I would have done this, it would have been a little bit better. Boom, right? You just grew in understanding, right? So now when you apply that, you become a little more skillful. Well, then you find something else. You're like, okay, well, boom, if I would do this, if I would have done this would have worked out a little bit better. All right, you just gain more understanding, right? You apply that, you're becoming more skillful. The whole process is getting honed, right? So, but it's only in taking action that you then gain experience, or that you gain, skill, maturity, ability. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Come what may.
Come what may. Yeah. Greatness. Yeah. Yeah. So that's then where, this is about like purpose and vision and identity, who we are, why God created the world, what we're actually supposed to get into, right? Which is to cause the kingdom of heaven to function on earth, which means if you're going to make disciples of nations, you actually have to affect and influence nations, which means you have to be able to solve real world problems with kingdom solutions. And that is the times we are in. we are ushering in the kingdom. It was interesting. In Acts 2, Peter quotes the prophet Joel, who says, "In the last days, says the Lord, I'll pour my spirit out on all flesh," right? Your sons and your daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. And even on my maidservants and male servants, they'll prophesy, right? So we're talking about, he says, in the last days, I'll pour out my spirit on all flesh, which is interesting that he says all, because all encompasses all. So he says they're going to prophesy, see visions, and dream dreams, right? So prophecy, vision, and dreams all have to do with the future. God is on purpose, right? Gave us the Holy Spirit who's going to lead us into all truth, right? So the whole purpose is like there's knowledge to know what season we're in, what are the times, what are we supposed to be getting into. There's the ability to tap into that revelation. In fact, I mean, it's already stuff that you've already heard, already know, already sensed, maybe at some point, somewhere along the way, at some stage of the game, pushed down or kind of overlooked, but it's come back and maybe you're getting into it. And it's the whole point is that we have to know what God's doing and where he's going so that we can participate. Because we're not created to be on the sidelines. Like we are the manifestation of the kingdom of God. We are the visible manifestation of the invisible God. We demonstrate to the world that God is for reals, that God is good, what love actually is, what the kingdom's actually about, who Jesus really is, the heart of the Father. These things are what we display to the world. And so we have to actually participate in the world because we're the light of the world, not the light of the church, right? So the church is a place where we come to become equipped, but it's out in the world that we're called to function. It's like the church is a training ground where we build each other up. That's a for real thing. Learn and use your gifts and develop them as well as deploy them into the world. Because that's the only way we're actually going to create transformation. That's the only way we're actually going to have impact is when we actually kind of rub elbows with some people maybe we thought we were supposed to stay away from at some point in the game. But it's like, no, these are the people you were, because even if you look at it, right? I mean, we were all those people at one time, right? And so sometimes you can get into that bubble and think, all right, we got to just stick around with our small group and in the safe place. But it's like, no, it's like, I send you out like sheep among the wolves. So be wise, right? Be as innocent as doves, right? So here was Daniel, who was killing it. This guy was dominating. He was wise and innocent as doves. People seeked to find what can we use against him so that we can get him thrown out of here. You could find nothing. So here was somebody who took on that, right? Living in the world, being wise, keeping it innocent, keeping it straight, being effective. It's just interesting because, I mean, you think about these guys, it's like, did their approach, like, because they worked with people, it's like, did their approach to people work better than these other guys? Did they just have so much favor that people just liked them? It's just like all these different aspects that these guys and their qualities and their abilities caused them to stand out, which caused them to then have massive influence. And this is where we're going. This is what we're called to have. Influence to create transformation on purpose. Kyle's about to fall asleep right here.
Yeah.
It's too much ice cream. Too much butterscotch cream coming out your ear balls.
Great.
My good peoples, until next time, keep it real. Peace.
Peace.